Evening Squires, it's your boy Isadora. Welcome back to my channel. I'm giving Life on Mars today, queens. I'm coming at you fresh, debatable, from my depression den to talk about films with. I saw The Bride over the weekend with some friends, and I can't stop thinking about it. I don't think it's a very good movie. Hot take. I try not to read any other reviews before I go in to see a movie because I don't want other people affecting my opinions, you know? I saw everybody was like, this is a fun romp, cinema's back. I'm like, that was not a fun romp, and we are not so back. Get your coffee, get your beverage, get whatever. So there is going to be spoilers in this, so if you've seen The Bride, or if you haven't seen The Bride and you plan on it, I honestly would recommend seeing it, but not because it's a good movie. No, so there were actually many things that I really liked about it, but I think the biggest fundamental issue of the movie is that from script writing up, they needed somebody in the writer's room to be there's way too much going on. There's not enough room to properly develop it at all. And this is kind of a mess. It just was. Also, I think it's a very interesting choice. The question, can you even make a feminist film where the entire premise is the violation of the female body? So I feel a lot of again, I know I think most Americans read at a 6th grade level, so they're not really engaging with media in the same way that we are. And there's a lot of men that see somebody who's black in a movie, or they see a woman in a Walmart and they're oh, this is political now. Classic shit for people who read at a 6th grade level, you know? I would say this movie, I don't know, I do there were things I liked about it. I thought the dance scenes were incredible. I think it was kind of trying to tackle too many things, but in the structure of a rom-com. Again, I'm a fan of inverting tropes and playing with cliches and stuff. I think they were trying to jam too much onto the frame of a classic rom-com, and there wasn't enough time to get into all the things they wanted to get into. Some shit needed to be taken out. I would say it has elements of a classic Frankenstein type movie, but this has to have one of the worst renditions of the male Frankenstein I've ever seen. And for me, something is I don't know, I've just seen Christian Bale so much that when I see him, I don't really see a character. I just see Christian Bale in another movie. Don't get me wrong, I think he's done great shit. I love American Psycho. I didn't think he was a very good Batman, but we all know the point of The Dark Knight was the Joker. I really loved this is kind of a controversial one. I think director Todd Haynes in the 90s or 2000s wanted to make a biopic about David Bowie's life, and David Bowie was leave me alone, mate. So they just made some shit up, and Christian Bale was the glam rock. He was kind of the Daniel Malloy equivalent, but instead of going into the vampire world, he was going into the glam rock world. I liked Velvet Goldmine. As a gay 10-year-old, I was incredible. This is literally me now. It is literally me now. So I'm not one of those people. I feel in this something didn't really work for me with him as Frankenstein. I think, again, a lot of my issues with this film were the writing of it. Too much happening. It almost takes this really rudimentary and mean version of feminism where again, I never want to be in this position where I'm defending men, and I hate that y'all misunderstand feminism and equality so badly that I gotta be put in this position where I'm defending men. Actually, that disgusts me. But I think kind of their take on making a feminist movie is that every man is despicable to the point where it's like literally boring. Like it's just not that fun to watch a movie where like you kind of know like what every character is going to do. It was like kind of boring. Like every man is just like profoundly selfish, like simple, not interesting, not really well developed, like doing the worst thing possible for like genuinely no reason. Again, like a lot of people would say, aha, like men in real life. I'm not here to fight with you on that or not. I'm just saying it makes like a boring movie. Like I think it's boring when like male writers create very one note, kind of useless female characters. Like, I think regardless of gender, like, if half of your cast is like throwaways, you're just not talented. And I'll take that up with like literally even like the greatest male writers of all time. People be like, oh, it was just the day. I'm like, Shakespeare wrote good women. It can be done. So it was just, so I felt like every man was just being like the biggest useless waste of space, which again, like I'm sure like a lot of women would be like, yeah, just like real life. Again, if you're doing that as a writer, that means you're like failing. It just does. And again, a lot of the women were in these like very morally gray, dubious positions, which is actually very cool and like interesting from a character perspective. When regardless of gender, you have people like trying to build their way in corrupt and evil institutions, people doing like horrible experiments that like defy life and death type shit. But like while the women were in like these very interesting like positions, none of the morality of that was like really explored at all. So you had all these men who were like straight up cartoon evil for no reason, which like got kind of boring by the end, and all of these women who actually like, if the movie wasn't trying to do so much shit, like the actual positions the women were in were really interesting and cool. And like, so we saw like no exploration of the morally grayness of women, and like every man is just like a boring evil like copy cutout waste of space. Again, that's bad writing, which like I wouldn't consider that feminism even. Again, like we come back to my central problem with The Bride. It's like, can you even make a feminist movie where the primary, what is it, like the inciting event or whatever is the violation of the female body? Like I felt like they were throwing in all these things to be like, no, this is like feminist, but I'm like, no. So like we have basically the lead character who becomes the bride of Frankenstein. She was used, violated, chewed up, and spit out in life. Then a woman and Frankenstein pull her out of the grave and like reanimate her body, thus like violating it again. And again, just because it's like a woman doctor performing this violation, is that feminist? Like that's what I'm saying. Like if anything, I feel like this was a movie about how like women also uphold patriarchal norms and standards, but like none of that was explored at all because like man, horny and bad. Which I guess that's cool like for most Americans who read at a 6th grade level, but like I wasn't that impressed. Something I haven't seen, again, I tried to avoid actually like reading reviews and like takes on this movie before I saw it, but something like I saw like a whole bunch of headlines, you know, and it was like fun romp, gender bending, genre bending, the most fascinating, fun, like we're so back. And I'm like, nobody mentioned the incredible and staggering amounts of essay. So again, I'm telling you, this is supposed to be like a rom-com in horror. It's like goofy. It has musical sequences. It's kind of camp. We're throwing in essay. Like I think there was like somewhere between like 3 and 5 of them. Like I started closing my eyes because I couldn't take it. Again, when it comes, I think you can hear the like colchone struck. I don't care. I'm still going. You know what? Maybe I'll take a break. I'll top up my coffee and get back to you. I brewed the strongest coffee of all time, like genuinely nuclear, and I've been shitting my pants all morning. I'm sure you wanted to know. Salud. Colchones, estufas, lavadores, se compra. Well, oh yeah, so there's so much SA in this movie, and I really struggle to understand why. Again, like things like this can be really controversial in media. For me, I'm a writer. I do not write those scenes and I do not include them. And like my ethos around that is that like a lot of people enjoy that and a lot of people have been harmed by that. So when you include graphic scenes like that, you're pretty much like doing fan service for the freaks who harm people, and you're triggering all the people who've experienced that, and you're not really accomplishing anything. So like again, like I do kind of see thematically how it kept with like the through line of the movie, which is like the complete violation of the female body. But like I don't think you need to show that graphically, and we don't need to see it every 10 minutes. Personally, and again, like I know everybody isn't me, and people have a lot of like different opinions and mixed takes on whether you should have scenes like that in media. I think like regardless of what you're trying to accomplish with that, you're turning the wrong people on and you're triggering the wrong people. So I think when you do shit like that, like again, like I'm sure everybody has different opinions and you're allowed to have them. I think for the general tone of the movie, which like sparked all these questions and ignored all of them to have like dance sequences and car chases and like goofy camp stuff going on, like it really kind of turned me against the entire film. And I've seen nobody really mention that at all. Again, I try and avoid like opinions, reviews, stuff like that before I see a movie. But like for nobody to bring it up at all when it's such like a big part of the piece. Again, I'm not entirely like I would say there's a movie, a horror movie. It's called Blood for Dracula. It's a horror movie directed by Andy Warhol. I think it came out in the mid 70s. That is like a fascinating, horrifying, disgusting like take on Dracula. It stars on Udo Kier as Dracula. He passed away recently, so like R.I.P. King. But that's a movie that has like a lot of SA in it, which I think is actually like thematically relevant to the movie, which because it's well written, it has very clear themes such as like class struggle and power, like you know, the old world is dying and the new world is struggling to be born. That's very much what like Blood for Dracula is about. So like when they do have these graphic scenes, I think like again, I don't like to watch that, but I think it makes a lot of sense within the context of the movie. I don't know why in this like campy horror rom-com we're touching on like SA constantly. Like like it does fit the theme of like the total violation of the female body, but like I don't know, I just felt like we didn't need to see it that much. It was like super random. It kind of felt like they didn't really know what to do at like different times in the movie, so they just kept repeating it. That was the thing. I think there was a ton of repetition in this movie that came across as one like, because I don't know, you do want to like establish themes, but also you don't want to have the same thing happen every 5 minutes because it just feels like lazy and boring. There was just, it was just weird. I feel like because they were trying, so we had like crooked cops, like crime syndicate, body collecting serial killer, like the Frankenstein angle, rom-com tropes, dance sequences. Like, I just think there was so much going on that like a lot, like, oh, also the thing that I probably disliked the most about it, there's this thing where it's like the ghost of like Mary Shelley is like waiting in purgatory to possess the body of a woman so she can like finish writing, like so she can write like Frankenstein 2 Electric Boogaloo or whatever. I thought that was super unnecessary and dumb. I remember when it first started happening, I saw it with two friends and one of them turned to me, she was like, what the fuck is this? I don't get it. And I was like, they didn't explain this and they didn't develop it very well, and that's why you're confused. And she was like, oh, okay. I feel like that's why my friends Like if my friends like seeing movies with me, because I'll be like, yeah, like I think this just has like some like deep script issues, and like you don't get it because they didn't do a good job. It's not because you're like dumb. Again, maybe you loved that whole fucking angle. I think we didn't even need it. So again, so we're talking about a woman who was caught up in like organized crime working for the police. A policeman took advantage of her sexually, then they got her murdered. Then Frankenstein and Dr. what is it, Feronius or whatever, pick her corpse up out of a grave and reanimate it. And then Mary Shelley's ghost like decides to possess her, but then she's also possessed by the ghosts of like every woman who's been like murdered by a mob boss in Chicago. Do you see what I'm saying? There's it's so much happening that it's like dumb. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know if you saw it and like you totally disagreed with me and you thought it was like a awesome movie and you 100% enjoyed it, and like you think I'm just a hater, I guess. Like again, I didn't hate the movie. I don't regret seeing it. I think you should see it just because it's fucking weird. Like I think when you're trying to do so much at once, it's kind of 50-50 on if it's all going to coalesce or not. This didn't coalesce, but I still think it's like a cool movie. And there were some things I did like about it, again, because we live in hell. I just thought it was cool to see like actual like women who don't have like a ponytail facelift on screen. Like I enjoyed that because we live in hell. But yeah, I thought the dance sequences were cool. Another thing they threw in there is that like Frankenstein was really, really obsessed with these like bad like 20s like dance comedy movies, and like he would go see them all the time, and like they talk about how bad these movies are constantly throughout the movie, and like I think it's kind of meta to like be making your own bad movie while constantly referencing like an in-universe bad movie. That was it. Yeah, there. See that. I feel like as I'm bringing this up to you, you're like, how the fuck were all these things in one movie? So we got like mob bosses, serial killers, Frankenstein, 87 essays, The Bride of Frankenstein, like the ghost of Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley or whatever, doing like asides. It almost gave me vibes like if you've ever seen like ancient Greek theater, like if you've seen like Oedipus Rex or some shit like that, how like they'll have like choruses or like people give like asides to the audience. Like the asides to the audience is more of like a Shakespeare thing, which he took from like the Greek style of theater. But like they basically just had like her ghost in purgatory doing all of these asides, and I'm like, it's just a mess. It was weird. It didn't really make sense, and I'm like, okay, so we have this woman like she's been used, chewed up, spat out, taken advantage of. Now her dead body is being both used for companionship by Frankenstein and like all the women who've ever died or possessing her too. Like it was, I felt like that's the thing. Like it was too scattered. It didn't really have like a distinct like point of view, a distinct like political stance. I just felt like a lot, like too much shit was happening at once. It was kind of like when like you just have a bunch of random odds and ends in your freezer, so you try and make a smoothie and you end up with something that's like the worst color you've ever seen, but like it tastes passable. That was The Bride. Then again, a big thing, it's like she's trying to discover who she is and like find her name and shit like that. So like she rejects her like human name. Then Frankenstein gives her a new name. She rejects that and she's like, I'm just gonna be the bride. And that's supposed to be this like moment of empowerment where like she's just the bride. And I'm like, how is rejecting even having a name for yourself and just naming yourself in relation to this man who like dug you up and like lied to you about you being a science experiment because he was mad horny. Like, you see what I mean? There's just like a lot of shit that didn't really make sense. Where I keep referencing the rom-com like elements. So Frankenstein, he's like, I've been mad horny, I'm so lonely, and he goes to this older lady scientist and he's like, make me a wife. And at first she's like, nah, that's crazy. But then Frankenstein is like, hey, why the fuck not? Aren't you like curious? And she's like, yeah. So like they dig up this recently deceased corpse and like make her a woman, and then they spend the whole movie lying to her about like how she had an accident and she was always that person, which I think is really fucked up. So like her and Frankenstein are supposed to have this like beautiful whirlwind like mismatched romance, like freak on freak crime, okay? And like the whole time he's lying to her about like who she fundamentally is and like where she comes from. So for me, like in that, the romance didn't really work either. It's just kind of like a really messed up movie about watching like a woman's body be like profoundly like used, exploited, and like discarded, but like there's dance sequences. I don't know, man. It just didn't do it for me. I do think you should see it though. Like, I don't know, like as a period piece, it's super effective and like fun and beautiful to watch. But trigger warning, if you do not like seeing SA, this is not the shit for you, dog. Like this kind of gave me the same feeling like when I left the Barbie movie of like, oh, like they're trying to make like a feminist movie, but they're not really interacting with like the actual like intricacies of like trying to like take radical positions in like a failing exploitative and evil system. It's very much like feminism for hoes that read at a 6th grade level, which like I hope if you're a 6th grader and you're watching this, you don't think that I'm like saying you're dumb or that like, no, like if you're a 6th grader and you read at a 6th grade level, good, dude. Like I'm talking about like how I feel like what we're seeing is like a lot of media being like incredibly dumbed down. One, because it's like, oh, you're just gonna watch this while you're on your phone, so it doesn't even have to make sense. Or like, they're like, oh, like everybody's so dumb now, like we don't really have to develop anything. Nobody's really gonna notice what we're doing. As long as it looks cool and there's like flashy stuff happening, no one will notice anything. But like, I'm a writer. I just gotta say, this had to be one of the worst renditions of Frankenstein's monster I've ever had the displeasure to witness. Now, honestly, I'm more of like a vampire bitch in general, but I do really love horror. I was one of like the first people in the theater to see Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. One, I love Guillermo del Toro. Like, we have a completely one-sided love, but it is still the most powerful love in the universe. Now, I saw a lot of people say that Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein was bad in relation to the source material. I think, honestly, he did one of the best renditions of an intelligent and, like, curious and, like, deeply emotional and feeling, like, creature I've ever seen on film. But I think he kind of ignored like the overarching themes of the novel. Like, and you even saw, like, I watched interviews, because you know I watched those fucking interviews, where he was like, oh yeah, I wanted to like reimagine this as like a family trauma telenovela because I'm Mexican. And I was like, yes, you are Mexican, King. Like, hell yeah, brother. So again, like, I think he kind of ignored like a lot of the main themes of Mary Shelley's novel, but he did a beautiful rendition of the creature, maybe the best I've ever seen. Jacob Elordi fucking killed it. That shit made me weep openly. So with Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, on one hand, I was like, this isn't really like almost all of the wider themes of the book that I like enjoy have been kind of removed, but to make this like a telenovela, but this is the most compelling rendition of the creature I have ever personally seen on film. So like, mad respect, this was the worst version of the creature I've ever seen. Like, they really dumbed him down entirely. He's not that smart, like he's not that interesting. Again, we run into this problem with The Bride where all of the male characters are like boring, mean, rude pieces of shit. Again, like if that's how you conceive of men, like you're not like ever like if you like, oh god, I hate this, I have to defend men, god, I don't want to be here. But no, I don't think it's like defending men. I'm just saying like any character regardless of gender, if you have them like half of the characters in anything you're creating are like copy and paste personality-less, like just like the worst for no reason, that's mad boring. You're not doing a good job. Yeah, like they just made him like, that's the thing, like that's what really captured me when I read Frankenstein as a child, like the beautiful mind of this creature which is completely disregarded because he doesn't look correct. I think the original Frankenstein novel is about being a woman, okay? I think that's what actually makes it like the most feminist of like anything we've talked about. Like it's about the experience of like having like a great mind, but having nobody respect you because you don't look and like what people imagine would house that like depth of extraordinary feeling. Like, so like, I don't know. They did Frankenstein so fucking bad. Yeah, he was just like obsessed with old movies. Like he had no real depth of feeling. He was just like, I'm lonely, I'm horny, make me a wife. Like it was just basically like pull a dead bitch out of the grave so I can get to humping. I was not deeply moved by this rendition. I did think it was like parts of it were fun. I loved it as like, I don't know, like a bootlegger era, like Jay Gatsby era, like period piece, mad sick. But like there's just, I don't know, also there's a lot of like really anachronistic kind of shit too. Like, oh yeah, also there's this layer where like by visibly protesting in New York City, she starts this whole movement where like people start like wearing her face paint and like fucking shit up. And like then all the women who are dressed like her go take out the mob boss. So essentially it's like, I don't know, they're just too confusing, too much going on. The potential for interesting themes that were touched on were like totally ignored in favor of like dance sequences and like crazy shit going on. There's like a mob boss who collects human tongues, like, and that's the thing, like if this was just camp, I would have totally been down with it, but I think they were just trying to do so much at once that they couldn't even develop it on the basis of it just being camp. Yeah, and I like camp, like I like shit that sucks, like look at me. Like, anyway, yeah, let me know what you thought about The Bride. I would recommend you see it unless essay is triggering for you. Please do not. Yeah, all right, that's it for me. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all later. Bye.